Hi, I'm Peter Kavesi, the head of content at the Ottawa Business Journal. Welcome to the Ottawa Real Estate Show, a new online broadcast dedicated to commercial property in Canada's capital. Today, we're going to be talking about the largest real estate story of the year. Amazon is setting up shop in Ottawa in a big way. The world's largest retailer recently confirmed that it signed a deal with developer Broccolini that will kick off construction on a massive new distribution center in southeast Ottawa. Located at the interchange of Boundary Road and Highway 417, this facility will be the largest of its kind in the National Capital Region. The numbers are staggering. More than 1 million square feet of space, 99 truck loading bays, project costs of up to $200 million, 1,500 construction jobs, and upwards of 600 full-time Amazon employees once operations begin. Broccolini is slated to start construction this summer. To help us understand more about this massive deal, we're joined by James Beach, the Director of Business Development and Real Estate at Broccolini here in Ottawa. We're also going to be putting this facility into the context of Ottawa's industrial market. Helping us with that is Lacey Miller, a business law and real estate lawyer with Mann Lawyers, as well as Sean Hamilton, the Managing Director of CBRE in Ottawa. Both CBRE Ottawa and Mann Lawyers are sponsors of the Ottawa Real Estate Show. James, Sean, Lacey, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Peter.
James, let's jump into this. Tell us about the site. What's happening right now?
Well, I think you've covered it pretty much entirely. You know the metrics very well, so well researched. Right now, we're getting ready to start official construction. We should be in a good position in the next week or two to kick that off. Right now, we're just preparing the site for the million square foot building, finishing our tree clear cutting, some soil works. Really nothing construction related specifically, but getting ready.
So let's take a bit of a step back. This is obviously huge business and economic news for Ottawa. How did this deal come together?
Like every good deal, over a cocktail. Seriously. No, this deal's been around. We've been working on it for almost 2 years now. So we got wind that a little group from Seattle was looking to move into the area. They were looking to expand their footprint to the eastern part of Canada beyond the GTA. And we did a little research, put down a couple sites on a map, and started working with the group. So there was an official RFP process, and Amazon did go out and look for groups that had capacity to build, to develop, that had capital, and also had vast experience in industrial facilities. So we checked all of the boxes, and we were invited with a very short list to put in an official RFP bid, which we subsequently won. So that was really the story, and I mean that's really how our business works, and a lot of deals come together that way.
One of the things that has a lot of people excited about this deal is the location. The east end of Ottawa has historically not seen a lot of economic development. What was it that attracted both Broccolini as well as Amazon to this particular parcel of land?
Well, I can tell you it wasn't the soil conditions. It certainly wasn't the level of civil servicing in the vicinity. But I think the location from perspective of traffic, trucking traffic, I think it's exceptional. It's within a few hundred meters of both an east and west arterial 400 series highway. And the sheer size of the site, it's close to 100 acres of land that was zoned appropriately for this type of use. So really, it came down to timing, and this building will be operational next summer. So from a timing perspective, to go out and find land, rezone it, bring in civil services, if you have to do everything front to back, there was no chance we could have met the date that Amazon had requested. So the site worked well.
And Peter, you have to remember that you know, right now we have a land crunch as it relates to industrial development within the traditional industrial nodes in Ottawa. So I give the example of our east end, where our traditional industrial node represents 42% of our industrial space, but has only 2% of our available land to develop. So if you want to get a large development off the ground, you've really got to move outside of the traditional nodes that Ottawa has, which means that really those areas outside of the Greenbelt are becoming more possible. So you look at David Manchester in the west, you look at Boundary Road in the east, and certainly, you know, you look on a map, you look at Boundary Road, it services now Montreal and Ottawa, and so you've got several million people outside being serviced in a location outside of the Greenbelt. So I think all of those would have played into the puzzle.
We've already touched on a lot of things that make this project really unique. You're all experts within the local real estate industry. I'm wondering, from your perspective, what is the most surprising or potentially underreported part of this project from your vantage point?
I mean, specifically at this point, there hasn't been that much that's come out in terms of my expertise, which is the commercial leasing area. I would probably defer to Sean and James on this one.
And for us, it's really been, you look at the average size of our industrial tenancies in around that 5,000 to 10,000 square foot mark. You look at the 401 corridor where you have a history of large industrial buildings. You look at the GTA, which is one of the top 3 industrial markets in North America. You really get a sense of how small and local, if I can say that, the Ottawa industrial market has been. So this represents, you know, an international company coming to Ottawa, a new building standard, a new building size. I mean, it's 1 million square feet. I think the second largest industrial building in Ottawa is the National Grocers building, around 600,000 square feet. Really, this just sort of blows the doors off our traditional industrial model and opens up the fact that really anything could now be possible going forward in Ottawa.
I'd say this is a trailblazing project, and it could open the doors for another facility or two. Probably not of equal size, but certainly it'll definitely add a few 100,000 square feet or more to Ottawa's new industrial sector.
Sean, you alluded to it a moment ago, but right now in Ottawa's industrial market, your firm's reported that we've seen 11 straight quarters of declining availability. Paint us a picture. What's going on out there? What's driving that demand?
Well, spoiler alert, it's going to be, when we release our stats in a week or so, 12 quarters of growth. The reality is, you know, you can look at this 2 ways. You can look at this as a demand or a lack of supply. And the reality is we have sort of steady demand. I wouldn't call it a spike in demand, but there's been a trickle effect of demand and growth, but nobody has been building new space. Now, that could be partly because demand isn't so strong that it would kick off a new building, but I think also our land, our land shortage within the Greenbelt is really constraining development, right? So, we're in new territories here because historically we have found that when our industrial market hits around that 4% or just below 4% mark, that there's a bounce upward in vacancy rate. So maybe somebody moves out of a traditional node because they can't accommodate growth and moves somewhere else. It'll be interesting to see. I said in our market overview that we delivered in May that now would be a ripe time for somebody to build a speculative industrial building. I think the fundamentals are there, rates are there, growth is there, and there is a demand. So, long-winded answer, it's land, I think, that's constraining, keeping our vacancy rates low.
And of course, when we talk about the industrial market, Ottawa's in a bit of a unique situation. We don't have the same heavy industry or large-scale manufacturing that a market such as southwestern Ontario has. Lisa, you do a lot of commercial leasing. Paint us a picture of the typical Ottawa industrial space user.
So like you said, it wouldn't be heavy industry. It would typically be a light industrial use. So smaller spaces are typically what tenants would be looking for. I mean, now we're seeing, obviously with Amazon coming in, the future maybe is more distribution centers or things like that. But right now it would be things like small manufacturing, building, warehouse space with, ancillary uses like office or showrooms, things like that is probably the typical Ottawa industrial tenant.
And what would they be looking for in from a space perspective? What do landlords need to do in order to meet the needs of those types of tenants?
I think for the most part, commercial leases are going to have the same kind of bones, no matter if you're retail, office, or industrial. But there are certain aspects that tenants find more important in industrial. And I think the big one would be kind of all-encompassing use access, especially exterior-wise. So most retail and office tenants, other than getting their parking they want, don't care so much about what's going on around the building. Whereas industrial tenants, you know, they need to know if there's going to be enough parking for their employees. Are they going to have good access to and from roads? Is the infrastructure in place? Is there a place to park large trailers, things like that? Or outdoor storage is a huge issue as well. You know, they won't want to use parts of their indoor space to store, so you're hoping that that's available to them out there. Loading and unloading, things like that. So the outdoor space aspects of the lease and that use is really important to tenants. Another one important to both landlords and tenants, a big one, is environmental concerns, and I think James touched on it already with environmental. Both landlords and tenants are going to want to do environmental testing before they start.
Ideally.
Ideally. In the perfect world, you would do it so that there's a base marker to say, hey, this is the way the space was when you started, so the tenant will only be, you know, they're not incurring, you know, debt from a prior tenant or something like that, right? And so you want to know what's there at the beginning and what's there at the end, so the tenant has responsibility only for what happens during their tenure there. Those are kind of the two big areas. I mean, I could go on forever about what's important in a commercial lease, but I think, I mean, speaking briefly, those are probably two big ones I would note.
You forgot the face rent. And then the renewal terms, those are the big ones.
Well, I was differentiating it from industrial as opposed to commercial, which is important for everyone to know what they're, to get a good deal.
James, as part of this project, of course, Broccolini is going to be extending a lot of services down to the site. You're bringing natural gas, hydro, water. The question I have for the three of you is, now that we're going to have that services down to that part of Ottawa, we're going to have a massive new anchor tenant. Are we going to see more industrial development in that corner of Ottawa?
You know, tying it into the discussion about infrastructure improvements, there is a limit to the capacity and the available capacity of each of those individual civil services. So while yes, we are bringing in infrastructure, water, hydro, natural gas, roadway modification improvements, et cetera, there is a limit to, again, the amount of capacity. So directly associated with this extension, I think there might be some growth potential. Already I'm hearing rumblings and getting phone calls about developments occurring within the vicinity. So I think, to answer your question, yes, there will be some spin-off. I don't see this as being a 10 million plus square foot catalyst development of the Amazon project. I think this will probably be the big slugger in the area. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, and if you know of any other big groups,
Nope.
you could call me after.
Yeah, I'll do that. But I think in the short term, we could probably see, I mean, this is going to bring jobs on the construction front and on the permanent front that aren't there anymore. So it would stand to reason that there would be short-term, maybe non-industrial development, but service development that would service you know, the employees in that area. In terms of longer-term growth, you know, I'll bring back the examples that we talked about during our Canada piece last time, whereby each time there's been a piece of land bought, whether it be the Canada North Business Park, whether it be you know, Strand Herd 416 interchange, each time people had vision to buy those, there was a lot of head scratching. And gradually over time, what seems like a crazy idea turns into you know, a visionary idea. So, you know, over the passage of time, Boundary Road could certainly become more than it is today, and it's on the radar screen right now. Obviously, services would have to beef up to be able to accommodate, but you know, again, I go back to the shortage of land, and if there's going to be growth and there's going to be a change in our industrial, it's got to go somewhere, and it's either east or west. And you know, right now, you know, with the Broccolini development, there's some momentum.
James, what milestones should we be watching for in the next few weeks in the coming months?
So Amazon Prime Day is finished, so we don't have to talk about that. I had to plug that. I'd say in the next coming weeks, we're going to see an official groundbreaking ceremony. We're going to see proper City of Ottawa approvals in place. We're going to see a lot of construction activity, and we're going to see a lot of structural steel showing up on site. So what's quite interesting, before the end of this year, there'll be a point in time where one end of the building, because it's such a large facility, one end of the building is nearly complete, at least visually complete, and the far extreme of the building, we will just be commencing early excavation works. So it's a wonderful opportunity. You'll be able to see in one visit the entire building from start to finish in terms of construction methodology.
Was that an open invitation for us to come visit?
Yeah, we could. I really was promoting a shot on site. So yes, round 2 of the real estate discussion.
Can I just make a statement / question? I think one thing we've got to do is give kudos to the city administration as well, all around, not just here, but Ottawa's going through some transformational change. And we've talked about some of that, whether it be LeBreton Flats, whether it be ZB, whether it be the Boundary Road developments, even the Nortel legacy tenants in the West End having to leave and relocate. And the city, in each one of these instances, has stepped up and helped sped up approval processes, helped be a conduit to bringing business to Ottawa. So if you look at the city in terms of being a friendly face of business, in terms of not giving things away, but in terms of removing red tape, I think they have been fantastic, and they have been really industry leading. And as a result, the City of Ottawa's tax base is going to increase, the employment base is going to increase, and the city will transform from sort of a quiet, stagnant government town that we earned a reputation of being before to sort of a vibrant place of private sector enterprise and international name brand business. And I think a lot has to be, a lot of credit has to be given to the city for that, because I know your experience. You said they've been great to deal with.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's been a very collaborative approach right from the initial discussions to, right up until this morning, talking about just timing for some outstanding items. They've been extremely collaborative, and it's been an absolute pleasure and a refreshing experience, I would say.
And the city will benefit from this.
I think everyone will benefit from it. Well, most people.
Especially Amazon shoppers as well, right?
Correct.
Great. Unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much for Sean, James, and Lacey for joining us. And a big thank you to our sponsors, CBRE Ottawa and Man Lawyers. And thank you very much for watching. If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, you should check us out online at obj.ca. We publish local business news daily on tech, tourism, real estate, and other business sectors. We also have a free daily e-newsletter that you should sign up for, and we do a lot of cool content marketing and digital advertising for some great local organizations and companies right here in Ottawa. So check us out, obj.ca. I'm Peter Cavesi from the Ottawa Business Journal. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again in a few weeks.